Hi everyone, it's been about 3 months since my last 2 videos, and you guys seem to really like the Bayonetta one that I did, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for your support. It truly means the world to me. Within these 3 months, I played a lot of games. I played Yakuza 3, which was incredibly underwhelming. I revisited Elden Ring and started 2 new playthroughs. I played the 4th Ace Attorney game, which is quite fun, but I'll stop beating around the bush, because I know what you came here for. There were 2 major releases around the beginning of February, and that was Infinite Wealth and Persona 3 Reload. I'll explain why Persona 3 Reload is here in just a moment. Infinite Wealth came out a week before Persona 3 Reload, but I played these games at roughly the same time. It might seem strange to compare these two, but I think for a lot of people, these two were the highlights of the beginning of this year. They were both highly anticipated titles, with Infinite Wealth actually being nominated in the category for most anticipated game. So in my opinion, only one of these really delivered for me, and that was Persona 3 Reload. The main reason being opportunities. Before I talk about the games, let's just get this out of the way first. Sega, you absolute corporate scum, what the fuck is this? I am aware that games have been expensive for a while, but if I've paid almost £90 for the deluxe edition of a game, I expect to get a lot more for my money. Like maybe the answer, a key part of Persona 3 Fez. New Game Plus should also not be locked behind a paywall. Anyway, let's start with the game I started with first, Infinite Wealth. I'm going to preface this by saying there's going to be massive spoilers for both Infinite Wealth and Persona 3 Reload. Okay? Okay. It was actually really hard to properly articulate my feelings on Infinite Wealth at first. I tried to go into it as blind as possible, using only the knowledge that I had from the previous games in the Yakuza series. It starts off very strong in my opinion. If there's one thing this series does well, it's tension. The game starts off with this gorgeous cinematic cutscene set in the 50s and sets up this sinister plot. A couple is killed in their car on a rainy night, and then the assassin gets killed, and then it just transitions to Ichiban working his 9-to-5 customer service job. In true Yakuza fashion, we flip between seriousness and comedy in just a few minutes. The beginning of this game probably has the best music and most entertaining cutscenes in the entire game. It even has a jazzy opening to go with it. It very much feels like a slice of life. You know that part in your day where you get shouted at by customers, and then you jump into sewer water? The interactions between the main cast here are really cute too. It feels really genuine. I think the only thing that was kind of strange to me was Ichiban and Saiko's relationship. I could be wrong, but I don't remember these two liking each other at all in 7. The way Saiko handles this as well is really strange too. Ghosting Ichiban for a year, even though she apparently still liked him? Their happiness obviously doesn't last. They lose their jobs and their reputations are in the gutter, all because of a VTuber. After everything falls apart and you're running around searching for answers, Sawashiro asks Ichiban to go to Hawaii to meet his mother. It's from this point onward that Infinite Wealth starts to falter. I'll start with the good parts. Hawaii looks really pretty on the outside. As you're walking through it at the beginning, you're greeted with these beautiful landscapes and restaurants that make you feel very eager to explore it. It's incredibly refreshing to have a map that isn't the same as the ones they've used for several games. Combat-wise, the combat is a lot more interactive compared to 7. You can now freely move your character around in battle and have them pick up objects, force enemies to collide into other enemies, force enemies to collide into cars, even into a shark's mouth. There's also bonuses for getting behind an enemy or getting close to enemies. It creates whole new possibilities for combat, and I think it might be a good incentive to try this game for those who really don't like turn-based combat. A lot of the side content is really fun, like the walk and talks and the side stories. I didn't do all of the side quests, but the racist weeb and the filmmaker side quests were very funny. Also, props to Kasuga for looking directly into the barrel of a sniper rifle. They did a good job at establishing the ruthlessness of the Barracudas and introducing some of the villains. But my problem is that the overall experience doesn't go up from here. At best, it kind of just lingers at mediocre, and at worst, it falls off really hard. We're in Hawaii, and yet it feels like there isn't much to do that's related to Hawaii. The swimming, for example. This is a neat feature to have, but what is there to actually do with this mechanic? I think there's one side story related to it, but other than that, you just swim around aimlessly, and that's all you can do. Another example, customization. What the fuck, Sega? In The Man Who Erased His Name, you can customize Kiryu's disguise and even do a small runway show. In Infinite Wealth, you can only customize outfits for when you're in battle. You're in a tourist destination. Imagine how funny it would be to have Ichiban running around with a stupid I love Hawaii shirt. I want to feel as close to the experience as possible, and unfortunately, immersion isn't consistent in this game. Look at this cutscene. This is beautiful. The animations look clean, the setting is really pretty. And then the cutscene finished, and I went to take a picture, and Tomizawa is sliding across the sand. Oh! Where are you guys going? Okay, come on. You can't just run away. Oh! Again, look at Kiryu in this scene. He's drenched in sweat. He looks like he's seriously going through it. And then cut to the next scene, and he's standing like nothing happened. In this part, the player is running away from the police. Here's what this scene sounds like.
Freeze! You're not getting away! Stay where you are!
Where are the sirens? This feels so empty because it sounds like there's barely anything going on. Could have had music to some of the parts. I could go on here because there are so many missed opportunities in this game. Kiryu's side, for example. I played the demo of Infinite Wealth, and seeing the Dragon's Resurgence ability was crazy. So in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, how are they going to top this scene? They don't. I was actually in shock when this happened. They just give you the ability like it's a tutorial in a regular battle. I liked that they incorporated this into your fight with Majima, Daigo, and Taiga, but the way that they handled these three, oh my goodness. I knew they were going to show up in the ending, but the way that they showed up was so boring. They just dropped in as support members and you can't even really fight with them, they just do stuff on their own. This would have been the perfect time to drop a crap ton of fan service and do some tag team stuff or heat actions. Okay, this has started to become a bit of a rant, so I'm just gonna give my main criticism for this game. This game takes a lot of time, and that's fine, but not everyone has time. According to Steam, it took me 90 hours to beat this game, and I didn't even do everything that it had to offer. I think unfortunately this is where the game would have benefited a lot from just letting you choose the difficulty. There are a lot of cutscenes, and a lot of them are quite long, with frequent dumps of information. By the time you're done grinding levels and doing the side content, you might feel insanely burnt out, and that's exactly what happened to me. It got to a point where things would just happen, and then there would be more information dumps. Bear in mind that this game expects you to have played 7, and possibly The Man Who Erased His Name too. I've played them and some of the other games, and I was still left feeling winded or confused. Every time it seemed like it was going to peak, it fell short again. It started to feel insanely repetitive fast. Whether that be in the story, where everyone's just talking about how evil Bryce really is, or in the combat, where I'm fighting loads of cultists with bloated health bars. In the moments where it counted, it didn't deliver. The ending, especially. The music in the end level made me want to drill a hole into my skull. What is this abysmal version of Receive You? Am I at a club? Am I at a rave?
What the fuck is this song? I'm not in a fucking rave. I'm in a fucking office walking around with empty chairs. What the fuck? Like, turn Skrillex off, dude. What the fuck? Shoot Skrillex in the head, man.
With all of the random info dumps and immersion breakers, I just felt so disconnected from the experience by the end of the game. It must sound like I despise this game, and I promise you that I don't. I do think there were a lot of highlights, but I feel like that's all it was. Highlights. Fleeting good moments sprinkled in where it should have been consistently good throughout. This was an opportunity to reverse all of the frustrating and limiting things of the past games, and yet they're still here in 2024 making the same mistakes. For all of the time that it takes to finish this game, it doesn't use all of it that well. Of all the Yakuzas I've played, it probably goes here on a tier list, and if I could rank it on its own, I'd give it a very reluctant 2 out of 5. So, how does Persona 3 Reload tie into this? The biggest challenge of Persona 3 Reload, and remakes in general, is improving upon the original without harming what was already there. And all games, not just remakes, should be innovating in all aspects. Infinite Wealth feels like it innovates with its combat system, but it's lacking in a lot of areas. Persona 3 Reload, on the other hand, isn't perfect, but it does a lot of things right. The original Persona 3 already had a great story and characters. There were just a lot of gameplay issues that were dragging it down. For a lot of people, Tartarus is a strong repellent. Randomly generated levels with a tiredness mechanic and non-playable party members. It's doable, but it can very easily turn you away. When Portable released, it fixed some of the potential combat issues, but the story experience was greatly harmed due to the limitations of the PSP. I've played Portable, Fez, and now Reload. And after experiencing all three, I have to say that Reload is pretty incredible. Persona 3 Reload doesn't replace the original, let's just make that clear. But it made Persona 3 feel so fresh again. The game is visually stunning. It took a while, but the aesthetic has really grown on me. The artwork is especially pretty. Very, very pretty. The combat's been reworked to match modern Persona combat, and it feels a lot more accessible now. The Theurgy mechanic is really neat too. As much as it makes the fights trivial sometimes, it's a feast for your eyes and I'm all here for it. The social links are now fully voiced, so it's a lot more engaging than just silently reading text. The male social links that were in Portable have been incorporated in a different way. They're not explicitly called social links, but they essentially are, and it feels like you get to know the characters a lot better compared to the original when you do them. The complaints around Reload seem to mainly be to do with Tartarus, the aesthetic, the music, and the voice acting. And I do agree with some of the complaints. The visual style of the original Persona 3 is something that will truly never be matched or replicated. But damn, do you know what that's called? Nostalgia. Just because you all liked this piece of shit Tartarus in the original doesn't mean others will like it. I bet you orgasm every time an enemy one-shots you in SMT. And for those super hardcore Persona fans, don't worry, they did keep the non-Suri in. Like usual.
I'm a teacher, and you're my student. Can I stay here for a little longer? I'll show you something fun the next time you're here. I love you, my trickster.
I'm joking, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Persona 3 Reload did pretty much everything I hoped for. Nothing felt sluggish or repetitive, almost everything felt new and improved. They've taken all of the positives of Persona, namely Persona 5 Royal's combat and convenience, and incorporated it into Persona 3 Reload. For newcomers and Persona fans alike, I think this is an amazing way to experience Persona 3, and for that reason, I'm giving it a very strong 4 out of 5.